Study magnetic fields, magnetic materials 2, series on electromagnetic field theory, lecture number 2.31. The phenomena of magnetism is known to mankind since times immemorial. The scientific investigation, however, started some 3 to 4 centuries back. In the second half of the 19th century, theory of electromagnetism got developed and the connection between electricity and magnetism got established. That point onwards, the development of electromagnetics was tremendous. So many applications were there involving magnetic materials. The development of magnetic materials that are suitable for specialized applications. It happened in an accelerated manner in the last century. In the present session, our focus is on a classification of magnetic materials and a brief on the properties of each one of these materials. Based on their magnetic behavior, magnetic materials are classified into 6 major groups: diamagnetism, paramagnetism, ferromagnetism, ferrimagnetism, antiferromagnetism, superferromagnetism. Now we consider each type, describing their important properties. First, diamagnetism. This is a weak magnetic phenomenon. Diamagnets are composed of atoms with orbital shells filled by paired electrons, resulting in no net magnetic moments. If we go slightly deep into magnetic materials, we can easily understand magnetism is a result, a consequence of net magnetic moments of particles, electrons, protons, neutrons that are there inside atom. In diamagnets, electrons are paired, cancelling magnetic moment of one electron by the magnetic moment of the other paired electron, resulting in no net magnetic moment. Examples for diamagnetic materials are bismuth, quartz, calcite, hydrogen, helium, and water. The susceptibility for diamagnetic materials or diamagnets is negative and also temperature dependent. What he is trying to tell is susceptibility Xm is less than 0, and this too is temperature dependent. When placed in external fields, magnetic moments of atoms become non-zero, resulting in the generation of small internal field. Diamagnets get repelled away from non-uniform fields. When it is not in a field, the magnetic moments of paired electrons get cancelled completely. But when material is placed in a field, what happens is cancellation is not perfect. There remains a certain amount of magnetic moment. It results in generation of small internal fields. Important property of diamagnets is they get repelled away from the non-uniform fields. Now let us move to paramagnetic materials. For them, susceptibility is positive, means Xm is more than 0. Here also it is temperature dependent. In these materials, each atom possesses a certain amount of net magnetic moment, which is due to unpaired electrons in their partially filled orbits. In case of diamagnetic materials, each and every electron is within a pair, but here there exist certain unpaired electrons. Therefore, there exists certain net magnetic moment. Due to random variation of these moments, however, the individual magnetic moments do not interact magnetically. It results in zero magnetization of the material in the absence of any externally applied field. So if you consider paramagnetic material, to begin with, one atom may be in this direction, magnetic moment of one atom, another atom, magnetic moment in other direction. Like that, they are in random directions, so no interaction. Therefore, net magnetic moment is 0. But in an external field, the non-zero magnetic moments of atoms, they align to the applied field, resulting in larger internal field. Now when this is placed in a magnetic magnetic field, external magnetic field, what happens? They tend to align in a particular, all tend to align in one direction, resulting in certain internal field. It is considerable. Examples for this type of materials are potassium, oxygen, tungsten, etc. Paramagnets get attracted towards non-uniform fields. Now, ferromagnetism. Ferromagnets are highly magnetic materials. In these materials, atoms are with unpaired electrons, and the magnetic dipoles associated with the spins of these electrons tend to orient in a direction same as their neighbor. So unpaired electrons are there. Unpaired electrons are associated with magnetic moment. It results ultimately magnetic dipoles. Atoms become magnetic dipole. Each atom acts as if it is a magnetic dipole. And these dipoles, of course, they are associated with certain moment. And these dipoles tend to orient in a direction same as their neighbor. So all the dipoles tend to be in one direction. It results in parallel alignment of magnetic moments of atoms. And usually this alignment is limited relatively to small patches called domains, which however are randomly oriented in virgin materials. So in ferromagnets, what happens is the material exists in patches. In one patch, all the dipoles are in one direction. In the neighboring patch, the dipoles are in one direction, but the direction is different from the direction of the neighboring patch. That is there. When an external field is applied, movements of the domains align with it, making the material strongly magnetic. Once alignment sets, it remains even after external field is removed. In the virgin field, the directions of the movements or dipoles in the patches, they are within a patch, they are in the same direction, but in different patches their orientations are different. That is in virgin materials. But when it is placed in magnetic field, external magnetic field, all the patches, all the dipoles tend to have alignment with each other. So it results in strong magnetic field. There exists large electronic exchange forces in these materials, causing strong interactions among the atomic moments. Iron, nickel, cobalt, and many of their alloys are examples for ferromagnetic materials. Susceptibility is positive, approximately 20 to 200 times that of paramagnetic materials. Paramagnetic materials are very weak. Ferromagnetic materials are strongly magnetic. Regarding ferromagnetism, some more information. Important properties of ferromagnets are hysteresis, remanence, spontaneity, and Curie temperature. Ferromagnets can retain a memory of earlier applied field even after its removal. It can remember. Ferromagnets can remember. This behavior is called hysteresis, and a plot of the variation of magnetization with field intensity is called hysteresis slope. Here is shown the hysteresis slope. So it starts at the origin with increase in applied field. It reaches point B. If you reduce the applied field, then what is happening? It is moving to C, C to D, D to E, and if you increase again from E to, it is not going to D, E to D, no, it is going E to F and F to G, G to B. Here is the loop. This loop is called hysteresis loop. A to B represents the behavior of the material in its virgin conditions. Once it is magnetized, it rotates around the hysteresis loop. Right. General hysteresis loop for magnetic materials. BH curve for different materials. For steel, what is BH? For iron, what is BH curve? For air, what is BH curve? This information. Regarding hysteresis spontaneity, some information. The nature of continuation of magnetization in a ferromagnetic material, even after removal of external magnetic field, is called remanence, retentivity, or remanent magnetization. An equivalent term is residual magnetization, is generally used in engineering applications. In electric generators, motors, and transformers, large residual magnetization is not desirable, and wherever it is unwanted, it can be removed by degaussing. The process of removal of magnetization is called degaussing. I have shown a graph loop. Everything starts at the origin. Now, after reaching a point B, if you reduce the applied field, to 0, Magnetization is not becoming zero. Magnetization is not zero. It is having certain value. So this is applied field or external field. This is magnetization. Beginning is zero applied field, zero magnetization. You have taken it to B. If you reduce the external field to zero, the magnetization here is not zero. It is not here, it is here. What does it mean? Certain amount of magnetization is being there. Retained, retentivity, retention is there. So that's why it is called retentivity, remanence or remanent magnetization. There are certain applications which this kind of thing is not acceptable. Retentivity is not acceptable. Then a process is undertaken to remove that magnetization. It is called degaussing. The appearance of magnetization at zero applied magnetic field in a ferromagnetic or ferrimagnetic material is called spontaneous magnetization. What is Curie temperature? It is defined as temperature at which a ferromagnetic, anti-ferromagnetic material, after losing its properties, becomes permanent paramagnetic due to heating. There is a material, ferromagnetic material. If you keep on heating it, when temperature reaches certain point, what happens is this it loses its ferromagnetic properties and then become paramagnetic, weak magnetic. The temperature at which it loses its properties, that temperature is Curie temperature. Below this temperature, magnetic moments remain aligned and are ordered. Above this temperature, see, ordered, aligned and ordered, that's why it is strongly magnetic. But above this temperature, alignment gets disturbed. Therefore, that strongly magnetic properties, they disappear, resulting in weak paramagnetic properties. The saturation magnetization goes to zero at this temperature. For iron, nickel, cobalt, the Curie temperature is 1043, 627 and 1400 degree K respectively. This heat-induced switch into paramagnetism is used in storage media. So Curie temperature is a parameter in some applications that use ferromagnetic materials or paramagnetic materials for erasing and writing new data. Then ferrimagnetism. Earlier it is ferro, now it is ferri. Behavior is similar to ferromagnetic ones with respect to spontaneous magnetization, Curie temperature, hysteresis and remanence, but has a different magnetic ordering. Ferrimagnetic materials are ones in which the magnetic moments of the adjacent atoms are opposed and unequal. This happens when sublattices belong to different materials or ions. So they are opposed and unequal. These materials have high resistivity and exhibit external field-induced anisotropic properties. Ferrimagnetism is exhibited by magnetite, ferrites, magnetic garnets. Examples are YIG, yttrium, iron, garnet. YIG, ferrites composed of iron oxides and other elements such as aluminium, nickel, cobalt, manganese and zinc. We can find several applications for YIG and ferrites in microwave engineering, and there the anisotropic properties of these materials are used in the design of isolators, phase shifters, etc. etc. Antiferromagnetism. What is this? In antiferromagnetic materials, the magnetic moments of the atoms on different sublattices are opposed, like in ferromagnetic materials, but here moments are equal, resulting in zero moment. Manganese oxide, nickel oxide, ferrous sulfide are examples. This phenomena is visible only at low temperatures, well below room temperature. The Curie point of these materials is called Néel temperature. Idea is same. What is Curie temperature? When a ferromagnet loses its properties to become paramagnet, then it is Curie temperature. Instead of Curie temperature, Curie point, Néel temperature is used in case of antiferromagnetic material. It is in the name of Louis Néel, a French physicist who explained the phenomenon of antiferromagnetism successfully in 1936. Alignment of magnetic moments are shown in this slide. This slide will be able to provide good amount of understanding, a deeper understanding regarding the properties of ferromagnets, ferrimagnets, anti-ferromagnetism. See here, parallel. Moments are parallel, aligned. Here, parallel but opposed, unequal, anti-parallel. In case of anti-ferromagnetism, equal and anti-parallel are opposed. So here these materials must be exhibiting a lot of magnetism, strongly magnetic, whereas these are somewhat lower, whereas this fellow must be weak. Super paramagnetism. These materials are composed of an assemblage of ferromagnetic particles in a non-ferromagnetic matrix. The domains do exist within the individual particles. However, the domain walls cannot penetrate the intervening matrix material to the adjacent particles. An important example for such kind of materials is magnetic tape used in audio video tape recorders. These are some of the things which I want to share regarding magnetic materials.